Hello everyone. Welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Jessica Lin, and I'm a second year school counseling master program student at NYU. In July, oh, hold on. In July, I attended the 2025 American School Counselor Association conference in Long Beach. The American School Counselor Association, also known as ASCA, is a national organization that guides standards for school counseling practice. The conference took place over 3 days and highlighted new approaches in counseling, career development, and student support. As I attended the sessions, four themes appeared across the conference. They were leadership and advocacy, supporting diverse learners, early exposure and career development, and creative counseling practices. So together, these themes outline the direction of the field. So before I go into each one, it helps to know who took part in this conference. The event brings together people who shape counseling programs across the country. There were high school, middle school, and elementary counselors, district office staff, and faculty from university counseling program, exhibitors, and counseling students. So with so many perspectives in one space, the sessions are designed to work across various school settings, which is why presenters shared ideas that can be adapted in many environments. So with that context in mind, the first theme that stood out was leadership and advocacy. So leadership appeared in many of the conversations. In school counseling, leadership is not tied to a title. It means using your role to influence decisions and strengthen the support system within a school. Counselors do this by working with principals, teachers, and district staff to address student needs. Because these partnerships rely on shared understanding, clear communication becomes essential. Presenters also highlighted how data help explain decisions and shows the impact of counseling services. So this naturally connects to another point from the conference, which is knowing your role well enough to advocate for it when speaking with school leaders and community partners. From there, advocacy connects directly to leadership. It begins with ASCA's aligned role definition, which outlined what school counselors are trained to do. These definitions give others a clear sense of our responsibilities. Explaining boundaries through student outcomes then helps staffs and leaders understand the purpose behind our decisions. So sharing participation and data supports the message by showing how students are being served. Advocacy also involves linking counseling service to school goals so the programs stay aligned with campus priorities. Presenters throughout the conference emphasize how partnerships across the school community help reinforce this understanding. Another part of this theme involved PLC frameworks. PLC means Professional Learning Community. Teachers use this model to set goals, review data, and adjust instruction. And presenters shows how counselors can benefit from the same process. It starts with shared goals in the student needs. From there, reflection cycles similar to those used in PLC teams help track progress. Using common academic language also allows counselors to take part in instructional conversation with leaders. And when we use data to refine how we support students, we strengthen both our leadership and our ability to advocate for our work. So all of these ideas show how counselors can guide through collaboration, communication, and data-driven practice. So this focus on systems naturally led into the next theme, which center on supporting diverse learners. Within this theme, one area presenters focused on was supporting students with disabilities. Presenters talked about the importance of communication loops, meaning regular updates between teachers, specialists, counselors, and family, so everyone stays informed about a student's plan. This kind of shared communication also creates a consistency for families, especially when they're navigating multiple services. Another point was the gap that can appear between general education and special education, also called SPED. Counselors help bridge that gap by working with both teams and keep counseling services connected so the students' experience feel holistic. These ideas tie into another focus from the session, which was belonging. When support are coordinated and connected, students with disabilities are more likely to feel included in the school community. And that sense of inclusion influences both their learning and emotional safety. From there, the theme expanded into equity in identification and access. Building on that idea of coordinated support for students with disabilities, the conference also looked at equity in how students are identified and how they gain access to services. Presenters encourage counselors to review patterns in referrals and discipline so we can see which students are being sent for support and which ones might be missed. Another focus was on our own decision making, taking time to reflect on the choices we make us notice any habits or assumptions that might influence who receive certain supports. The session also stressed that using team-based process for placement and planning, when decisions are made by a group rather than one person, students are more likely to receive fair and appropriate services. So all of this connects to the final point, which is monitoring access and outcomes across student groups. By keeping an eye on how different groups of students move through the system, we catch gaps early and work with them to address these issues. So understanding the diverse learner also means that the students we serve today, which is why presenters focus on the Gen Z part of this theme. As we look at equity and identification and access, the conference pointed out that understanding today's learner is part of equity work as well. One group discussed often was Gen Z, and since their needs affect how we plan our work, presenters share several patterns they see with Gen Z students. Many do well with expectations are clear and broken into simple steps. They also place a lot of importance on wellness and balance, which shapes on how they engage in school. Because many Gen Z students have limited workplace experience, they may need more guidance in areas like organization and follow through. They tend to respond well to feedback that is direct and timely, and across the sessions, presenters noted that Gen Z students benefit from explicit instruction and communication skills, especially when they're navigating school or workplace situations. As we look at the different needs students need to bring into school, another topic that came up was how those early experiences shape the way they see future opportunities. This led into the next theme on early exposure and career development. Early exposure and career development was a topic that many participants was interested in. Presenter explained that students start forming ideas about careers at a young age, so early opportunities can influence what they see as possible. Early exposure also helps reduce stereotypes that limit how students view certain fields. Community presenters expand access by giving student examples from a range of backgrounds and industries. Sessions also highlighted the role of hands-on activities, since trying a task allows students to understand the work and stay engaged. After discussing the importance of early exposure, presenters shifted to how schools can support that work through a structured career program. The ASCA conference described that Tier 1 lessons as the base of the program. Tier 1 means that lessons provided to all students, which gives everyone the same starting point. School benefits from having a year-long scope and sequence, so lessons build from one grade to the next. Sessions also show that counselors can connect career lessons to ASCA mindsets and behavior to support student growth. And data then helps identify gaps in access or skills so the program can be adjusted to meet student needs. As school builds structured career program, presenters also point out the need to teach the skills students will rely on as they move into future opportunities. Presenters outline several readiness skills that support students as they prepare for future pathways. Communication skills help students express their needs and work with others. Planning and organization support their ability to manage tasks and deadline. Self-advocacy allows them to seek help or clarification when they need it. Professional behavior prepares them for workplace expectations, and many schools tie these lessons to junior readiness data, so the skills match the areas where students need more support. Building readiness skills open the door to a broader conversation about how counselors begin and deliver this work. This led into the theme of creative counseling services. Creative counseling methods were discussed across the sessions because they help students stay engaged and make sense of challenging topics. One idea was novelty, When an activity feels different from a typical conversation, the brain pays closer attention, which helps students stay involved. Another idea was multisensory learning. When students draw, build, sort, or use movement, they process information through more than one channel. That extra step helps them organize their thinking and stay focused. These methods also make abstract ideas more concrete. So, a diagram, a simple grid, or a hands on task gives students something they can see and interact with, which supports understanding. So, these approaches can be used in classroom lessons, small groups, or individual counseling, given counselors flexible ways to meet different methods and needs. Since these methods rely on movement, visuals, and concrete tasks, it helps us to see what they look like in practice. The conference shared several examples that counselors use across grade levels. One example was a not true, true grid, which helps students compare automatic thoughts with more accurate statements. And TA drawings give students a way to map communication patterns between the parent, adult, and the child states. The WDEP model guides students through identifying what they want, what they are doing, how those actions are working for them, and what they might change. So the board of director activity helps students look at the internal voices that influence their choices. The Gestalt chair technique gives students space to talk through conflicting thoughts by shifting seats. And goal setting activities include vision boards, help students organize their plans and break down the next steps. Together, these activities show how creative methods support reflection and skill building in ways that feel what is not manageable for students. So now that I have walked through the four themes, it helps to look at how they connect. The sessions show that each theme builds on the others rather than just standing alone. Leadership shapes access. Access opens the door to skill building. Skill building strengthens belonging, and belonging supports student readiness. All four parts work together in how we support students. So, as we wrap up, I want to end with a quote from the conference that I hope you carry with you. Counselors shape opportunity through the systems they design and the relationships they build. Thank you for being here, and thank you to NYU for giving me this chance to share the ASCA highlights with all of you. Thank you.
Okay, now we will open it up for a few questions if anyone has. You can unmute yourself, you could type it in the chat. It's up to you. Yes, Erica.
I have a question. I was curious about, when you were talking about, in the beginning, we were talking about use of data is helpful when, creating new policies and programs and things like that. What type of, what type of systems or tests or do you see or did they talk about they're using to find this data?
So they talked about like different, so working with the admin of the school, and they will provide you with databases with reports like for standardized testing or any if they're on an IEP plan or anything with supporting documents. Those are the data that will be provided. That's why communication with teachers and admin will be able to give me that support and the data that I need to support students.
So that you said, so that data was, I guess you're saying test scores,
Mhm.
grades, and things like that. And does that, the data that they have, does that follow students throughout from when they first started school, or is it just for the time that they've been in that particular school?
It follows them because the information transfers to another school. So let's say if they move schools, that a set of data and record will be following with them as well. So anything with, let's say if there's any records of misbehavior or conduct or any IEP plans or any special circumstances, that will be following them when they transfer.
Okay, that's interesting. That you could also use like trends, how things have changed, moving from school to school. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Yes. Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
First, beautiful presentation. You did such of a great job. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Um, I'm throwing out there because I'm your academic advisor. I know that you're in practicum right now. Are
Next
you
semester. Next
next
semester.
semester? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to start practicing like what you've learned in this conference? Are you in a space where you'll be able to start implementing any of the things that you discussed in this
Yeah,
presentation?
so I learned that for my practicum, I will be working with middle school students. And middle school students, I will be working with the IEP plans and students with disabilities. So it was so diverse learners. So yes, I will be actually applying that knowledge from the conference to that field in spring semester.
Beautiful. Exciting. Thank you for answering.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have, was there anything that you learned that kind of, I don't know, anytime I go to a conference, there's always like one thing that I learned that I'm like, wow, I've never thought about this before. And it might not even be something you can apply, like in Denisha's question, but was there one thing that you were like, this is kind of an amazing thing that I've never thought about?
Yeah, it was the creative counseling strategies. I felt it was really unique because we never really talk about that. Like in our courses, it's more of like how do we communicate with students, right? How we address their issues and listening. But seeing those creative strategies, like the Gestalt chair, I had no idea what that was at first. So being able to see that, I thought that was really interesting, something that I feel like I'm going to use in my classrooms in the future.
Yeah, so just a follow up, I did have a question. I didn't know, like you talked about the board of directors, but I've never
Mhm.
heard of that. If you could tell
Yeah.
me what that is, that would be super helpful.
So basically, the board director, what they were saying is that it's like you're going to imagine like you're part of the board director. So you get to shift your seats around and you get to experience different role each time. So let's say like, so I feel like this actually works well in group therapy because in group therapy, we need to kind of understand different roles and stances, right? So I think with this, it helps the students to understand what the counselor is trying to say or how does that look like from the counselor's view. And then this counselor get to also be moved around to where like the participants, like a student's view, and how that feel as for a student. So I thought that was an interesting activity.
Yeah. Do the students know what a board of directors is? I think that was the
I
other
don't think,
question that I was like,
yeah, I've never heard of it. So I think through this conference was the first time. And I asked my students that I currently work with, they
yeah.
have no idea what this is.
Yeah,
So
I
I
was
thought it
like,
was
this, it
interesting.
definitely feels a little developed, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing you'd have to explain that before you do the, activity, because otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. We have a few minutes left. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will stop recording.